Okay, so follow me here. Follow me. Say you were trying to get to know someone, right? And every single time you hung out with this person, they had something negative to say about trans people. Now, even if you yourself didn't know anything about trans people, wouldn't you think that this person's behavior is weird as hell? Like, y'all talking about your favorite books or your favorite foods or which bar y'all about to go out to later on that night. And then all of a sudden from the side, this Looney Tune gonna talk about some yuck. Well, what about the trans people? What about, you see the trans people? Like, girl, what you mean? What about them? We were just talking about the club, girl. Like, are you okay?
I don't want your nigga, you crazy. That nigga too lazy. I need me a nigga who can tame me.
This is coming from Complex, of course. All the links will be in my description. Make sure you check it out. Dave Chappelle is addressing the trans community once again in his latest Netflix special. The 50-year-old, you 50 years old, you acting like this, girl? You ain't ashamed? You ain't ashamed, girl? Anyway, the 50-year-old entertainer kicked off his special by addressing his past transphobic comments, saying he's, quote, tired of talking about the trans community. Obviously not, grah. How else would you be eating? How else would you pay that light bill, girl? This is what he said, apparently. Now, if you guys came here to this show tonight thinking that I'm going to make fun of those people again, you've come to the wrong show. I'm not effing with those people anymore. It wasn't worth the trouble. He said, I ain't saying shit about trans people maybe 3 or 4 times tonight, but that's it. Tired of talking about them. Obviously, he's not. He continued, you want to know why I'm tired of talking about them? He says, it's because these people acted like I needed them to be funny. And it's like, girl, no, we didn't say you needed them to be funny. We said you needed them to snatch some headlines, girl, because it's not funny. So yeah, you need them, obviously, clearly, but it's not to be funny. It's to get some eyes on your shit. The only times you in the headlines like this is when you're being transphobic. So it's like, yeah, of course, you need somebody, you need a community to shit on because the other stuff you doing ain't really hitting on shit. So I guess you figure, any kind of press is good press, even if it's fucked, even if it's this kind of attention, girl. You say any kind of attention is great attention, and if y'all latched on to this transphobic shit, then that's what I'm gonna serve you, girls. Like, I cannot believe he said because these people acted like I needed them to be funny. Girl, you believe that about yourself. You think you need you think you need transphobic jokes to be funny. Like, what? The projection has already started, and I ain't even got to the real shit yet. The article says from there, the comedian took an unexpected turn by saying he's since found a new angle. I ain't doing trans jokes anymore. He said he's gonna then move on to making jokes about disabled people. And I'm just like, oh, wow. How does the low-hanging fruit taste on your chapped-ass, crusty-ass fucking lips, bro? Like, how does it taste? Chappelle then joked that he was trying to repair his relationship with the trans community. He said, to be honest with you, I've been trying to repair my relationship with the transgender community because I don't want them to think that I don't like them. Girl, we know that you... Girl, we know. Trust me. We know the girls are clocking your ass anyway. They're wondering if you're a chaser with the way that you're so obsessed. So we know, clearly, we know, we understand. Then he went on to say, you know how I've been repairing it? I wrote a play. I did, because I know gays love plays. And I'm just like, do you know that gay people and trans people aren't this? Okay. It's too much to expect for you to, learn some vocab words, I guess. It's a very sad play, he said, but it's moving. It's about a black transgender woman whose pronoun is sadly the N-word. It's a tearjerker. At the end of the play, she dies of loneliness because white liberals don't know how to speak to her. And so I'm sure he really was in his little cavern or whatever, scribbling down on his stone tablet because that's what his mindset is giving me antiquity, girl. Like... So I'm sure he was in the cavern scribbling on the stone tablet, scribbled, or should I say etched. He etched this joke down and was like, this really gonna get him. And I'm just like, this is such a shitty joke because you said this hypothetical black transgender woman's pronoun was the N-word, but at the same time, throughout the joke, you called her she and her throughout the whole thing. The second thing is, and this point has been repeated so many times, but you could just call this hypothetical black transgender woman by her name. And a name isn't usually a pronoun. Names are proper nouns, babes. So I know that bowling ball on top of your shoulders has nothing inside of it, but you'd think you would at least know that basic fact about the English language, girl. Like, oh, her pronoun was the N-word, so people didn't know what to call her. How about calling her by her fucking name? And then the last point really addresses the preposterous nature of y'all's scenarios. Y'all come up with the most ridiculous scenario. Her pronoun is the N-word. Like, y'all imagination is so wild. All this extra brain power you had to use to come up with this hypothetical black trans woman whose pronoun is a slur to make a joke about just your hatred for being asked to say the word they or something, like they, them, or a word that you use endlessly, words that you use endlessly every day. You know what I mean? You came up with this whole hypothetical, preposterous situation about a black trans woman with an N-word as her pronoun, when, you know, all trans people have been asking for their goddamn rights. You know what I mean? It's just like you went all the way around just to end up right back at stupid. Okay, so this part here was extremely revealing, I think. The article says the comedian also made light of the incarceration of the transgender community when he said that if he ever needed to go to jail, he would prefer to be sent to a women's prison. So listen to what he said. He said, God forbid I ever go to jail, but if I do, I hope it's in California. Soon as a judge sentences me, I'll be like, before you sentence me, I want the court to know I identify as a woman. Send me to a woman's jail. As soon as I get in there, you know what I'm gonna be doing? Give me your fruit cocktail, bitch, before I knock your motherfucking teeth out. I'm a girl just like you, bitch. Come here and suck this, girl. Dick I got, don't make me explain myself. I'm a girl. So this is such an interesting cognitive dissonance that bigots have, because we all know that there's this predator rhetoric that transphobic people spew about trans people, right? But the reason why they are so terrified of trans people is because the bigots themselves dream of assaulting people and being violent. So they think all trans people want to do the same thing. They project that shit because they will always run their mouths about, oh my God, trans people, they're going to attack me. They're going to attack my kids, da, da, da. But the truth is, Dave, as you just said, you are dreaming of yourself as the actual attacker. You are the actual attacker. What you said you would do if you tried to tell people that you identified as a woman before you went to jail, what you said you would do is go out there and be violent, threaten violence, threaten sexual violence. So because you have fantasies of committing violence against women, you project those same twisted desires onto people who are trans. You said if you could, you know, tell the court that you identified as a woman in jail, you'd threaten to knock people's teeth out. That's what you said. Meanwhile, people who are actually trans just want to exist in peace. They'd like to go to use the bathroom in the women's bathroom if they are a trans woman, for example. They'd like to stay employed and not experience housing discrimination or discrimination in general. They'd like to eliminate the consistent violence against them. But you, Dave, dream of violence. And it's not trans people's fault that you project that shit onto them. Trans people keep saying, okay, well, you know, I'm just trying to survive. That's what I would like to do in this world. And what you said you want to do while pretending that you identify as a woman was assault people and be violent and threaten sexual violence. That's what you said. So notice how different those conversations are. Notice what trans people are actually talking about, the things that are actually relevant to their lives, the issues that they have to face. Notice the conversations that they're having versus the conversation that bigots project onto them, the conversations that bigots, you know, want to persuade themselves that they think that trans people are having. You know what I mean? And understand that a lot of these situations are imaginary. You're making that shit up in your head and you're projecting your twisted, sick desires, your sick fantasies onto trans people, and we can see it. We can see it. The article continues here. It says, this isn't the first time the comedic provocateur has come under fire. Chappelle found himself in the middle of controversy after making transphobic comments during his previous Netflix special. We already know that. He said, I'm just saying that those pussies that they got, you know what I mean? I'm not saying it's not pussy, but it's beyond pussy or impossible pussy. It tastes like pussy, but that's not quite what it is. And I'm just like, okay, so you said it tastes like it, but that's not quite what it is. I want to know how you know that. Second of all, do you see how bigots always jump to genitalia? Do you see that? Trans people, like I said before, trans people are just asking to be able to exist in public peacefully and thrive without threat of violence, and y'all are focused on what's in their pants. Always, always. That doesn't seem weird to you? That don't seem weird to you? In the queer world, we're having conversations about how we can protect trans people from your murderous hatred, from y'all's repressed ass, self-hating ass, man. Like those are the conversations we're having, how we can protect them. And meanwhile, we check into y'all's conversations and y'all still talking about their genitals. Y'all still in their pants, still. And I'm just like, so who's the real creeps? The National Black Justice Coalition urged Netflix to remove the special from its platform. Girl, they ain't doing that shit. As long as they get clicks, Netflix don't give a damn, okay? It is deeply disappointing that Netflix allowed Dave Chappelle's lazy and hostile transphobia and homophobia to air on its platform. It really is, but a click is a click, and these companies do not care. Like, they really do not care. That really sucks. Also, Dave Chappelle told this entire story about how badly he wanted to meet Jim Carrey. And when he finally got the chance to, Jim Carrey was acting like someone else the whole time. He said, oh, well, I didn't want to meet someone else, the person, whoever he was acting like. I wanted to meet Jim Carrey. And he said, that's how I feel. He said, that's how he feels when he talks to trans people, obviously, that they're pretending to be someone else. And people thought the joke was so hilarious, so funny. But it really does show how people think, like transphobic people think that transness is a costume, it's a performance, it's a veil to cover up who you really are so that you can behave in deviant, nefarious ways and you can trick people, all that, right? They don't see trans people as who they actually are, which is being their actual selves. They're being their true selves, because what you're trying to force trans people to be, the person that you want them to be, that's the real performance. That's the costume. Do you ever notice that straight cis people have to constantly perform straightness, have to constantly perform cis heteronormativity, or like they can't slip up once, even within their own community. They can't slip up once, or else the niggas calling them, your homies calling you fucking zesty and sassy and all type of shit. So they have to constantly perform. They have to constantly prove every day they wake up that I'm still straight, I'm still cis, you know what I mean? They have to constantly do that. And so under the constraints of that exhausting, dehumanizing performance, because that's what it is, girl. Like, under the constraints of that, they will look over yonder and see people who have decided, like, girl, I'm not doing that performance of gender in the way that society wants me to. I'm going to do it my own way. I'm just not going to subscribe to those things. They will look over yonder, and instead of looking inward and saying, hey, you know, do I have a strange reaction to this because I secretly want to live outside of these norms and I see someone else doing it and I'm mad, I'm jealous, like they don't do that shit. They take out all their frustrations about the system that they fucking built, girl. They maintain. They take that out on trans people, on queer people, on people who live outside of the realms of that. And instead of sitting your ass down and listening and learning and hearing what groups of people are saying, minority people are saying, your ass comes to a white supremacist ass conclusion, bitch. Stop all that shit out. That's the conclusion that y'all come to, is bulldoze all that shit out. Just like them colonizers did when they came over, broad day white Jesus, you know what I mean, saw what some of our communities were doing and living outside of the traditional white supremacist ways to interpret gender and sexuality and all that shit, and they stomped that shit out. They stomped it out. And so I'm just like, you know, instead of challenging the system that's beating your ass, you're going over here and trying to bulldoze the people who are challenging it. And I just want to let everybody like Dave Chappelle know that we can see their ass. Like, we can see clear as day that you're obsessed, you're projecting, you're miserable, you're curious, you're violent. And just like the dolls, just like the girls have been saying, you might be a goddamn chaser. And that's the and I'm gonna end the video, girl, because I'm about to start ranting, but that's the dangers of fucking around or being around people like them, because it's like, girl, you are so repressed. Girl, I would not be surprised if we look inside that phone, we search that computer, that browser history, you know, we might find something. That's all I'm going to say, because I don't know how else to explain why you're this obsessed. And I don't usually like to say, oh, well, girl, everybody who transphobic or homophobic is into us or is secretly download, whatever. Like, I don't think that's the case for everybody at all. And I think that, you know, saying that or thinking that it's everybody who's homophobic or transphobic is low-key one of the girls or messing with the girls, I think that can lead to some dangerous outcomes, because I don't think it's everybody, but I definitely think it's some of them. I think some people are just violently homophobic and violently transphobic, and so we just gotta stay our ass away from their ass or move them out of our way. But I do think there's also another part who act up like this because, you know, they don't want nobody checking their phone. And that's all I'm gonna say. They don't want nobody checking that phone, that fucking computer. So let me know what y'all think about this. Love y'all so much. And make sure that you have a good goddamn evening.
Insecure, they don't control me. I ain't the only person holy worship me. Yeah, you control me. I ain't the only, you so lonely. Insecure, they don't control me. Control me, boy, you can't control me. Control me.